There comes a moment in life when helping someone actually stops helping them. We grow up believing that being good means always rescuing, fixing, and carrying others through their struggles. But wisdom teaches us something deeper. Real growth happens when a person faces their own responsibilities. When you solve every problem for someone, you quietly take away their chance to become strong. Think about a child learning to walk. If you carry them every time they fall, they will never learn balance. They may feel safe in your arms, but they will never feel confident on their own feet. Life works the same way. Struggle is not punishment, it is training. Pain is not always negative, it is often a teacher. Many people ask for help, but what they truly want is escape from effort. They want comfort without change, support without discipline, results without responsibility. When you keep helping such people, you don't lift them up, you slowly pull yourself down. You become tired, resentful, and empty, while they remain dependent, unchanged. True compassion is not emotional weakness. Sometimes the most loving thing you can say is no. Not because you don't care, but because you care enough to let the other person grow. When you step back, you give them space to discover their own strengths, their own solutions, and their own confidence. Helping should empower, not replace effort. Guidance is useful. Advice can be valuable. Encouragement is necessary. But doing the work for someone is not kindness. It is interference. Life has a curriculum for everyone. And when you interrupt it repeatedly, the lesson gets postponed, not cancelled. Remember, every soul has its own journey. Your duty is to walk beside people, not to carry them on your shoulders. Support them with wisdom, not with overprotection. Let them face consequences, learn lessons, and build resilience. Growth is uncomfortable, but dependence is dangerous. When you stop helping in the wrong way, something magical happens. They either rise to the occasion or they move away. In both cases, balance is restored. You regain your peace and they regain their power. Helping too much can quietly block the growth of inner strength, even though it appears loving on the surface. Inner strength is not something that appears automatically. It is built through experience, effort, failure, and recovery. When a person faces a challenge and works through it on their own, they discover abilities they didn't know they had. But when someone constantly steps in to rescue them, that discovery never happens. The person begins to believe that they are incapable, not because it is true, but because they have never been allowed to test themselves. When help becomes a habit rather than a necessity, it sends a hidden message. You can't do this without me. Over time, that message settles deep into the mind. The individual stops trusting their own judgment, avoids taking initiative, and waits for someone else to fix things. This is how confidence slowly erodes. Strength grows when a person says, "This is difficult, but I will try." It weakens when the thought becomes, "Someone else will handle it for me." It's for me. Life is designed to shape character through resistance. Just as muscles grow only when they are stretched and challenged, the mind and spirit grow when they are pushed beyond comfort. If you remove every difficulty from someone's path, you also remove the training ground for resilience. They may feel protected in the short term, but they remain fragile in the long term. The world does not always offer soft landings, and without inner strength, even small problems begin to feel overwhelming. Excessive help also creates fear of failure, When a person is never allowed to failure, becomes terrifying. They start avoiding responsibility, risks, and decisions because they have never learned that failure is survivable. Inner strength comes from falling, feeling disappointed, standing up again and realizing, I lived through this without that experience. Confidence remains theoretical, not real. Another danger of overhelping is emotional dependency. People start depending not just on your actions, but on your presence. They feel lost without reassurance, guidance, or approval. This dependency limits their growth and places an invisible burden on the helper. Over time, the relationship becomes unbalanced, where one gives constantly and the other receives without growing. This is not support. It is stagnation disguised as care. True strength is built when help is replaced with trust. Trust that the other person can try. Trust that they can struggle. Trust that they can learn. Even if they make mistakes, those mistakes will teach them more than any advice ever could. Struggle forces reflection, responsibility forces maturity, and effort builds self-respect. These qualities cannot be handed over. They must be earned through experience. Helping should feel like a light behind someone, not a crutch beneath them. When you step back slightly, you allow them to step forward. You allow them to hear their own voice, make their own decisions, and face the results. That process may be uncomfortable to watch, but it is necessary. Inner strength is born in moments of uncertainty, not in moments of rescue. When people are allowed to face life directly, they don't just survive, they grow into stronger, wiser versions of themselves. Struggle is not an enemy of life, it is one of its greatest teachers. Many people believe that a smooth, problem-free life is the ideal, but in reality, a life without struggle produces weakness, confusion, and fear. Every meaningful skill, quality, and virtue is shaped through resistance. Patience is born when things do not go our way. Discipline is built when motivation fades. Courage develops only when fear is present. Without struggle, these inner qualities remain undeveloped. When difficulties appear, the natural reaction is to escape or avoid them. We want quick relief, easy solutions, and shortcuts. But struggle exists for a reason. It forces us to slow down, reflect, and change. A person who never struggles never questions their habits, their mindset, or their direction. Comfort keeps people stuck, while struggle pushes them to evolve. It breaks old patterns and demands growth. Painful experiences often carry hidden lessons. Failure teaches humility. Loss teaches gratitude. Rejection teaches self-worth that does not depend on approval. These lessons cannot be learned through comfort or pleasure. They are absorbed only when life challenges us. When someone is protected from every hardship, they miss these lessons and remain emotionally unprepared for reality. The world does not adjust itself to our comfort, so inner strength must be developed from within. Struggle also builds clarity. When everything is easy, people drift through life without direction. But when challenges arise, priorities become clear. We learn what truly matters, who truly supports us, and what we are truly capable of. Struggle strips away illusions and reveals truth. It shows us our weaknesses, not to shame us, but to guide us toward improvement. Another important gift of struggle is resilience. Resilience is not the absence of pain, it is the ability to move forward despite it. Each time a person faces difficulty and survives, something inside them becomes stronger. They realize that pain is temporary and that they are stronger than they thought. This realization builds confidence that cannot be shaken by future problems. Without struggle, resilience never forms, and even minor setbacks feel unbearable. Struggle also develops empathy. People who have faced hardship understand others more deeply. They become less judgmental and more compassionate because they know what pain feels like. A life without struggle often produces arrogance or insensitivity, while a life shaped by challenges produces wisdom and humility. These qualities make a person not only stronger but also kinder. Avoiding struggle may bring short-term comfort. Real support means empowering people to think, decide, and act for themselves. It means standing beside them, not in front of them. When people are allowed to solve their own problems, they may struggle, make mistakes, and take time, but they grow. And growth creates confidence that no one can take away. True strength comes not from being rescued, but from realizing I handled this myself. Saying no is often misunderstood as a sign of coldness or lack of care, but in reality, it can be one of the deepest expressions of love and compassion. Many people say yes out of guilt, fear of being disliked, or the desire to appear kind. However, kindness without wisdom turns into emotional weakness. True compassion is not about pleasing others in the moment. It is about supporting their long-term growth, even if it feels uncomfortable right now. When you say yes to everything, you may be protecting someone from discomfort, but you are also protecting them from growth. Discomfort is not always harmful. In many cases, it is necessary. A person learns responsibility when they are required to handle their own challenges. When you remove that requirement by always stepping in, you take away the lesson. Saying no at the right time allows life to teach what words cannot. Compassion without boundaries leads to burnout and resentment. The person who is always helping begins to feel drained, taken for granted, and emotionally exhausted. Over time, this hidden frustration leaks out through anger, withdrawal, or bitterness. Saying no is not just healthy for the other person, it is essential for your own balance. When you respect your limits, you model self-respect and emotional maturity. There's also a powerful message hidden in a compassionate no. It says, I trust you. It tells the other person that you believe in their ability to handle the situation. handle the situation. This trust can be more empowering than any form of rescue. When people feel trusted, they are more likely to rise to the challenge. When they are constantly rescued, they doubt themselves. Many people confuse love with sacrifice, but love is not about destroying yourself to save someone else. Real love encourages independence, responsibility, and self-awareness. A compassionate no creates space for the other person to reflect, think, and act. It forces them to ask better questions, explore solutions, and take ownership of their choices. These experiences shape character far more deeply than comfort ever could. Saying no also protects relationships. When help becomes excessive, relationships shift from mutual respect to dependence. One person becomes the giver, the other the taker. Over time, this imbalance weakens connection. Weakens connection. A clear, respectful no restores equality. It keeps relationships honest and healthy, built on choice rather than obligation. It is important to understand that a compassionate no does not mean abandonment. It does not mean you stop caring or withdraw emotionally. It means you stop interfering with someone's personal journey. You can still listen, encourage, and support emotionally without solving the problem for them. This form of support strengthens people instead of weakening them. Growth often begins at the point of discomfort. When you say no with clarity and kindness, you allow that growth to happen. You allow people to experience the consequences of their actions, learn from them, and mature. In the long run, this builds stronger individuals and more meaningful relationships. Compassion guided by wisdom does not rescue people from life. It prepares them to face it. Guidance has the power to uplift, but doing the work on someone's behalf slowly takes that power away. There is a profound difference between showing the path and walking the path for someone else. When you guide, you offer direction, clarity, and perspective while still respecting the other person's responsibility. When you do the work for them, you remove the very effort that creates growth. Effort is not optional in life. It is essential for maturity, confidence, and self-respect. Guidance invites thinking, while replacement encourages passivity. When someone receives guidance, they are required to reflect, make choices, and take action. Their mind stays active and engaged. What? But when work is done for them, the mind becomes lazy. The habit of thinking independently weakens, and the person begins to wait rather than act. Over time, this creates a pattern where initiative disappears and dependence becomes normal. Another important aspect of guidance is that it allows people to own both success and failure. When a person acts on guidance and succeeds, the victory belongs to them. That sense of ownership builds pride and confidence. When they fail, the lesson is also theirs. Failure becomes meaningful because it is connected to their own effort and decisions. But when someone else does the work, neither success nor failure truly belongs to the individual, and no real learning takes place. Doing the work for someone also distorts their understanding of effort and result. They begin to expect outcomes without discipline. Life, however, does not function that way. Every achievement demands patience, consistency, and sacrifice. When these elements are removed early on, people struggle later in life when no one is available to carry them. Guidance prepares them for reality. Replacement prepares them for disappointment. Guidance also respects dignity. It communicates, I believe you are capable. This belief is often more powerful than the advice itself. When people feel respected, they are more willing to try to persist and to improve. Doing the work for them sends the opposite message, even if unintentionally. It suggests doubt in their ability and reinforces insecurity. Confidence grows when people are trusted to handle their own responsibilities. Another hidden cost of replacement is exhaustion for the helper. Constantly carrying others leads to burnout. The helper becomes frustrated while the person being helped remains unchanged. Guidance creates balance. It allows you to support without losing yourself. Healthy support strengthens both sides, not just one. Guidance also encourages long-term growth. A person who learns how to approach problems, break them down, and work through them gains skills that apply across life. These skills stay with them long after the specific problem is solved. Work done on their behalf leaves nothing behind except temporary relief. Real care is patient. It allows people to struggle, learn, and improve at their own pace. By guiding instead of replacing effort, You help people build inner strength, discipline, and wisdom. In the end, the greatest help is not removing the burden, but teaching someone how to carry it themselves. Overhelping may begin with good intentions, but it slowly drains your energy while postponing the other person's growth. Every time you step in to fix a problem that is not truly yours, you invest emotional, mental, and sometimes physical resources. At first, this may feel satisfying, even meaningful. But when it becomes a repeated pattern, the cost becomes heavy. You begin to feel tired, frustrated, and unappreciated, while the other person remains comfortable and unchanged. Energy is a limited resource. When you give it constantly without boundaries, you start neglecting your own responsibilities, goals, and well being. Your focus shifts from self growth to damage control. Instead of moving forward in your own life, you are stuck managing someone else's unfinished lessons. This creates internal conflict. On the outside, you appear helpful, but on the inside, you feel resentment building. That resentment is a sign that something is out of balance. At the same time, overhelping delays the other person's learning. When consequences are softened or removed, lessons lose their impact. Growth requires discomfort and accountability. If someone knows they will be rescued, there is no urgency to change behavior or develop skills. The problem repeats itself, and each time you are called in again. What feels like support becomes a cycle of dependency. This cycle is emotionally exhausting because it never leads to resolution. You keep giving, but nothing improves. The person does not become stronger, wiser, or more independent. Instead, they become more reliant on you. Meanwhile, your patience decreases, your compassion weakens, and your emotional health suffers. Over time, you may even start feeling guilty for wanting distance, which deepens the exhaustion. Another hidden cost of overhelping is the loss of personal boundaries. When you constantly prioritize others' needs over your own, you send a message that your time and energy are always available. People may not intend to take advantage of you, but the pattern teaches them that they can. This leaves you feeling invisible and undervalued. Healthy relationships require balance, not sacrifice without limits. Delaying someone's learning also harms them in the long run. Life will eventually demand skills, resilience, and accountability. If these are not developed early, the challenges of adulthood become overwhelming. By overhelping, you unintentionally weaken their ability to cope with reality. What could have been a small lesson becomes a major crisis later. True support conserves energy and promotes growth. It involves stepping back, allowing consequences, and trusting the other person to rise. This does not mean abandoning them emotionally. You can still listen, encourage, and care without carrying their responsibilities. When you stop overhelping, you reclaim your energy and give them the opportunity to mature. Growth happens when effort meets responsibility. When you stop draining yourself and stop delaying the lessons, both lives move forward. You regain peace, clarity, and strength, and they gain the chance to become capable and independent. Overhelping may feel kind in the moment, but wisdom knows when to step back so real growth can begin. Facing consequences is one of the most powerful forces shaping maturity. When a person experiences the results of their actions, life becomes a teacher instead of a theory. Consequences create clarity. They connect choices with outcomes and transform abstract advice into lived understanding for understanding. Without this connection, growth remains shallow and incomplete. When consequences are consistently avoided or softened, people fail to develop responsibility. Responsibility grows when a person understands what I choose today will affect my tomorrow. This awareness sharpens judgment, encourages self-control, and builds maturity. Without it, decision-making becomes careless and repetitive. Consequences also develop emotional strength. Experiencing disappointment, discomfort, or loss teaches regulation and resilience. A person learns how to sit with uncomfortable feelings instead of running from them. They discover that emotions are temporary and manageable. This emotional maturity cannot be learned through lectures or protection. It emerges only through experience. Another important role of consequences is building integrity. When actions have real outcomes, people become more honest with themselves. They stop blaming others and begin taking ownership. This shift from victimhood to accountability is a major step toward adulthood. Without consequences, excuses thrive and self-awareness remains weak. Avoiding consequences may feel compassionate in the short term, but it creates confusion in the long term. Life does not operate without cause and effect. When someone is shielded from results early on, reality eventually delivers them in harsher ways. Small lessons ignored become large crises later. Allowing consequences early prepares a person for the demands of life. Consequences also teach problem solving. When someone faces the result of a poor choice, they are forced to reflect and adjust. They ask better questions, explore alternatives, and change behavior. This process builds intelligence and adaptability. If consequences are removed, reflection never happens, and mistakes are repeated without learning. There is also a deep sense of self-respect that comes from handling consequences. When a person faces difficulty and works through it, they gain confidence in their ability to cope. They stop fearing life and start trusting themselves. This trust becomes the foundation of maturity. Letting someone face consequences does not mean withdrawing care or becoming harsh. It means allowing reality to its work. You can still offer emotional support, empathy, and guidance while refusing to remove the lesson. This balance is crucial. Support without interference allows growth to happen naturally. Maturity is not created by comfort. It is shaped by accountability. When people are allowed to face the outcomes of their choices, they grow wiser, stronger, and more grounded. Consequences are not punishment. They are life's way of teaching responsibility, resilience, and self-respect. Support has the power to either strengthen effort or silently replace responsibility. The difference lies in intention and boundaries. When support is meant to encourage effort, it acts like fuel. When it replaces responsibility, it becomes a crutch. Many people believe they are being supportive, but without realizing it, they remove the very struggle that leads to growth. Effort is the foundation of self-respect. When a person works towards something, even imperfectly, they feel connected to the result. That connection builds pride, confidence, and ownership. Support should protect this connection, not break it. Encouragement, advice, and emotional reassurance can help someone stay motivated, but the work must remain theirs. The moment support takes over responsibility, effort fades and entitlement grows. Replacing responsibility often begins subtly. You help once, then again, and soon it becomes expected. The person stops trying as hard because they know someone else will step in. This does not happen because they are lazy, but because human behavior adapts to patterns. When effort is no longer required, growth slows down. Responsibility is what keeps effort alive. Another danger of replacing responsibility is the loss of discipline. Discipline is built through repeated action, not through comfort. When someone is shielded from their duties, they never develop consistency or self-control. Life, however, demands discipline in every area: work, relationships, health, and character. Support that removes responsibility leaves people unprepared for real challenges. Support that empowers effort communicates trust. It says, I believe you can handle this. That belief often becomes a turning point. People rise to the level of expectation placed on them. When responsibility is taken away, the message becomes, you are not capable, even if that is not the intention. Over time, this message weakens self-belief and confidence. Empowering support also encourages learning. When someone tries, fails, adjusts, and tries again, learning becomes permanent. Mistakes turn into lessons, but when responsibility is removed, mistakes are avoided and learning never happens. Temporary comfort replaces long-term wisdom. There is also a healthy balance between presence and interference. You can stand beside someone without standing in their place. You can listen without fixing. You can guide without controlling. This form of support allows people to experience ownership while knowing they are not alone. It strengthens relationships because it is based on respect, not dependence. Replacing responsibility may feel helpful in the moment, but it creates weakness over time. Empowering effort may feel uncomfortable to watch, but it produces strength, confidence, and independence. True support does not carry people through life. It teaches them how to walk on their own. Letting go and allowing people to discover their own abilities is one of the most powerful forms of support. Yet it is also one of the most challenging to practice. Human nature often drives us to intervene when someone struggles, to step in and fix things so that the person feels safe or we feel helpful. But the truth is, true growth comes from the experience of trying, failing, and eventually succeeding on one's own. Every time we do for someone what they could do themselves, we take away an opportunity for self-discovery and self-confidence. Discovering one's own abilities is a process that cannot be rushed or bypassed. It requires patience, persistence, and often repeated failure. When someone faces a challenge without external interference, they are forced to explore their own creativity, problem-solving skills, and resourcefulness. They experiment, make mistakes, and adjust. This iterative process is what builds competence and self-belief. By constantly intervening, we deny them this essential learning process, keeping them dependent and unsure of their own capacity. Another important aspect is resilience. When people struggle and work through difficulties independently, they develop inner strength. They realize that setbacks are not permanent and that they have the power to overcome obstacles. Each small victory earned through personal effort reinforces their confidence and determination. Conversely, when someone is repeatedly rescued, they never experience this reinforcement, leaving them vulnerable to self-doubt and fear of failure. Dependence replaces resilience and self-belief remains fragile. Allowing someone to face challenges also teaches them responsibility. They begin to understand that their actions have consequences and that they are accountable for the outcomes of their decisions. Responsibility is a cornerstone of personal growth, and it cannot be learned without first-hand experience. By stepping back, we give them the chance to own their choices, learn from mistakes, and celebrate achievements. Without this, confidence and independence remain underdeveloped. Trust plays a central role in this process. When we allow others to navigate their own paths, we communicate belief in their abilities. This silent vote of confidence often inspires people to push beyond their perceived limits. When guidance is overly protective, it sends the opposite message, that we doubt their capacity to succeed. True support balances encouragement with freedom, creating a safe space for exploration without taking control. Letting go is also an act of respect. It respects the individual's autonomy, acknowledging that they are capable of finding their own solutions. Respect fosters motivation. People rise to meet expectations when they feel trusted and honored. Conversely, interference, even with good intentions, can create frustration, resentment, or learned helplessness. Independence grows only when people are allowed to act for themselves. Finally, this process strengthens long-term capability. Skills, confidence, and problem-solving abilities developed through self-directed effort persist over time. Temporary solutions provided by others do not leave lasting impact. True growth is sustainable because it is internalized, not borrowed from someone else's energy or effort. Letting go is not about abandoning someone. It is about empowering them to discover the strength that already exists within. In doing so, we cultivate capable, confident, and resilient individuals who can face life with courage and self-reliance. Real love and care build independence, not dependence, not dependence, not dependence. Many people mistake constant assistance for compassion, believing that solving problems for others or protecting them from every difficulty is the highest form of care. But true love goes beyond temporary comfort. It prepares people to face life confidently on their own. Dependence may feel safe in the moment, but it gradually weakens character, self-esteem, and resilience. By fostering independence, we help people develop the skills, courage, and self-belief that will carry them through every stage of life. Independence begins with trust. Trust that a person is capable of handling challenges, making decisions, and learning from mistakes. When we intervene excessively, even with good intentions, we signal the opposite, that we doubt their abilities. Over time, this erodes self-confidence and reinforces hesitation and fear. When we step back, we allow the other person to discover their own strength, boosting their belief in themselves and their ability to overcome obstacles. Building independence also strengthens problem-solving skills. Life is unpredictable, full of challenges that cannot always be anticipated or avoided. A person who has been overprotected or overly assisted may lack the experience and strategies necessary to navigate difficulties. By allowing them to face problems on their own, they learn to think critically, adapt, and create solutions. This process not only develops skill, but also nurtures creativity and resourcefulness, qualities essential for long-term success. Independence teaches responsibility. When individuals are allowed to handle their own challenges, they learn that their actions have consequences. Responsibility fosters accountability, self-discipline, and maturity. These qualities cannot be instilled through advice alone. They must be practiced and experienced. When someone grows accustomed to others solving their problems, they never fully experience the link between effort and outcome, weakening their capacity to take charge of their own life. Emotional strength is another key outcome of independence. Yazing challenges without constant intervention cultivates resilience, patience, and confidence. This patience is not passive. It is active support through observation, guidance, and encouragement without taking over the journey. Emotional balance is equally important. It involves managing your reactions, expectations, and attachment to outcomes. Over-involvement often leads to frustration when people do not meet expectations, creating tension in relationships. By cultivating emotional balance, you learn to provide support without becoming emotionally entangled in someone else's struggle. This allows relationships to remain healthy, constructive, and empowering for both parties. Setting clear boundaries is another key aspect of balance. Boundaries define the limits of your responsibility and energy, ensuring that support does not become interference. Those healthy boundaries prevent codependency, encourage accountability, and allow both individuals to thrive. Boundaries communicate respect for yourself and for the other person, teaching them to act responsibly within their own sphere of influence. Balance also encourages reflection and learning. By stepping back at appropriate moments, you give both yourself and the other person space to reflect, evaluate actions, and make thoughtful decisions. Over-involvement often deprives people of these opportunities while balance preserves them. Reflection builds wisdom, self-awareness, and problem-solving skills, creating long-term growth that cannot be achieved through constant intervention. Finally, balance strengthens relationships in the long term. When both parties respect boundaries, trust each other's capabilities, and provide support without taking over, the relationship becomes a source of empowerment rather than dependence. Both individuals grow stronger, more confident, and more resilient. Balance ensures that love and care are not confused with control or overprotection. It is the framework that allows genuine support, personal growth, and mutual respect to coexist, creating relationships that uplift and empower rather than drain or weaken. Growth often begins in silence, away from constant advice, interference, or validation from others. Many people feel the need to be constantly guided, supported, or cheered on in their journey. While encouragement can be helpful, real transformation happens when a person steps into their own space, faces challenges independently, and learns to rely on themselves. Silence in this context is not loneliness. It is the quiet environment where reflection, focus, and self-discovery thrive. When we stop over-involving ourselves in someone else's life, we create the space for them to explore their own abilities. Silence allows people to listen to their own thoughts rather than being drowned out by opinions, instructions, or expectations from others. It is in this quiet space that they start asking themselves the right questions, analyzing their actions, and realizing the areas where improvement is needed. Over time, this internal dialogue fosters clarity and personal insight, which cannot be gained through constant external guidance. Silence also teaches patience and persistence. Life rarely hands lessons on a silver platter. Challenges, mistakes, and setbacks are natural parts of growth. When someone is allowed to face difficulties without constant intervention, they learn to persist, adapt, and find creative solutions. This resilience becomes ingrained because it is developed through experience rather than being spoon-fed. Constant help, on the other hand, shields individuals from these crucial lessons, delaying maturity and self-confidence. Another critical benefit of silence is the cultivation of self-reliance. When people are given space to handle their own struggles, they discover their own resourcefulness, creativity, and inner strength. They realize that they are capable of solving problems, making decisions, and navigating challenges independently. This self-reliance becomes the foundation for confidence and long-term success. Overdependence on others, even with the best intentions, prevents this growth and often fosters doubt and insecurity. Silence also encourages accountability. When consequences are allowed to unfold without interference, people learn to take responsibility for their actions. They understand the link between choice and outcome, which is essential for maturity. By stepping back, we give them the chance to evaluate their behavior, reflect on mistakes, and adjust strategies for the future. This accountability cannot be taught. It must be experienced, and silence provides the space for that experience. Emotional strength is another outcome of growth in silence. Facing challenges independently allows people to confront fear, discomfort, and uncertainty. They learn to manage stress, regulate emotions, and build resilience. When someone is constantly protected or guided, they may never develop the emotional tools required to navigate life's inevitable difficulties. Silence gives them the opportunity to face challenges head-on, fostering emotional maturity. Finally, growth in silence builds lasting self-confidence. When individuals succeed through their own effort, they experience the profound satisfaction of achievement and the knowledge that they are capable. This confidence is internal, not dependent on validation from others, and it persists even in challenging circumstances. Over time, this creates strong, resilient, and independent individuals who can face life with courage and clarity. Silence, therefore, is not emptiness. It is the fertile ground in which character, wisdom, and inner strength take root and flourish. True strength is built when love, care, and support are delivered with wisdom rather than mere emotion. Many people equate helping someone constantly with being loving or kind, but true strength comes from creating conditions where growth, resilience, and independence can flourish. It requires the ability to balance compassion with discernment, knowing when to step in and when to step back. This kind of strength is subtle, often invisible, yet it is far more powerful than constant intervention or temporary comfort. When we act with wisdom, we recognize that real growth often arises from struggle, effort, and facing challenges independently. Life naturally presents obstacles, and overcoming them is what builds confidence and competence. When we shield others from these challenges unnecessarily, we unintentionally weaken them. True strength understands that the lessons of failure, discomfort, and perseverance cannot be given. They must be earned through personal experience. By allowing someone to encounter difficulty, we enable them to discover their own abilities, resilience, and resourcefulness. This strength also involves the courage to set boundaries. Many people avoid saying no out of fear of appearing uncaring or selfish. Yet, without boundaries, relationships become unbalanced, dependence grows, and both parties may experience frustration and exhaustion. Setting limits does not mean withdrawing love. It means protecting your energy, respecting the other person's growth, and fostering accountability. Boundaries teach responsibility and help others understand that their actions and decisions have consequences, which is a critical part of developing maturity and inner strength. Another element of strength is patience. Growth does not happen overnight, and people often stumble, repeat mistakes, or move slower than we might hope. It is tempting to rush in and fix everything, but doing so delays real development. True strength is patient enough to allow people to struggle, learn, and grow at their own pace. This patience fosters resilience and helps individuals build confidence in their own decision-making abilities, rather than relying on constant external guidance. Strength guided by wisdom also involves emotional stability. Over-involvement in someone else's journey can lead to frustration, anger, or resentment. When support is balanced and measured, it allows the helper to maintain clarity and emotional composure while still providing encouragement. Emotional stability models resilience and self-control, showing others that it is possible to face challenges with calm and confidence rather than panic or dependence. Additionally, this strength empowers others rather than creating reliance. By stepping back and allowing people to take ownership of their actions, we cultivate independence. People who are allowed to experience both success and failure develop self-respect, self-belief, and problem-solving skills. These qualities are far more valuable than temporary relief provided by constant assistance. True strength recognizes that helping someone grow in competence, confidence, and resilience is a deeper form of care than removing their obstacles. Finally, strength guided by wisdom fosters long-term transformation. Temporary fixes may provide comfort in the short term, but they rarely lead to lasting change. By encouraging self-reliance, accountability, and reflection, we equip people to face future challenges with competence and courage. True strength does not make life easier. It makes people stronger. It teaches lessons that remain with them for a lifetime, building resilience, confidence, and independence that cannot be taken away. This form of strength is quiet yet profound. It does not seek recognition, praise, or gratitude. No. Its impact is measured not in immediate results, but in the lasting growth it cultivates within others. By exercising strength with wisdom, we create environments where people are empowered, capable, and prepared to face life on their own terms, ultimately shaping individuals who are resilient, confident, and truly strong from within.